In the glamorous world of entertainment, we are constantly treated to fairy tale romances, power couples, weddings straight out of books, and seemingly unbelievable, perfect marriages. But behind the dazzling spotlight, a completely different reality exists. Even the most admired couples, those blessed with immense wealth, fame, and influence, are not immune to loneliness, betrayal, and broken trust. In reality, fame and money don't always strengthen love. Sometimes, they do the opposite, exaggerating emotional emptiness and eroding personal boundaries, dragging relationships into a dangerous spiral of temptation. Because behind the perfect images and smiling red carpet moments lies a harsh reality: fidelity isn't always guaranteed, even in so-called dream marriages. Join us as we unveil the secrets and expose shocking, little-known stories of 15 black R&B singers whose wives were involved in sensational infidelity scandals. These hidden truths will challenge everything you thought you knew, and trust us, you won't believe it. Ray Charles, a blues legend whose heart was quietly broken by words never meant to be read. To the world, Ray Charles was a musical icon, celebrated not only for his soul-stirring voice but also for what seemed like a beautiful, timeless love story with his wife, Della Beatrice Howard Robinson, the woman he once called the gentlest sunshine of his life. The golden couple married in 1955, and for years, the public saw Ray proudly at Della's side, openly affectionate, their love captured by flashing cameras and admiring headlines. They appeared unbreakable. But by the 1970s, as Ray's career reached its highest peak, success came at a cost. Endless tours, late nights, and constant travel pulled him further from home. Rumors of women surrounding him began to circulate, and his well-known struggles with addiction only deepened the distance between husband and wife. On April 26, 1977, their separation became official. And with it came a haunting question. Was there a secret that helped shatter this once sacred marriage? In the silence left behind, another presence quietly emerged: Klaus, a fellow member of the church choir where Della found refuge. What began as harmless conversations slowly transformed into an unspoken emotional bond. Della began writing letters to Klaus, letters she never sent to Ray. Confessions of exhaustion, isolation, and a loneliness that had slowly consumed her. Those letters would eventually be discovered by Ray, hidden inside an old piano. "I feel lost and unbearably weary in this world. At church, I sing of hope. But when I return home, I face nothing but the shadow of my own solitude." After Ray's death, family members uncovered an old letterbox and handwritten notes in his bedroom, pages resembling a private memoir. Among them were small letters he had secretly taken from Della's diary, words that revealed the emotional fractures he may have realized too late. In the months following his passing, the public occasionally spotted Della in the company of Klaus, arms intertwined, lingering embraces that went beyond friendship. Their quiet meetings after choir rehearsals, or chance encounters at a small cafe near the church, were later confirmed by musicians who worked alongside them. Though no public confession was ever made, these fragments of truth painted a painful picture, one that silently confirmed what had broken their faith in love. In a rare, private interview, when asked about losing the woman he loved most, Ray confessed, "I made millions of hearts beat, but I let the most important woman in my life be consumed by loneliness. That regret will stay with me until my last breath." Though Ray and Della ultimately walked separate paths, the love they once shared still echoes, like immortal notes lingering in the soul. A reminder that true love, even when lost, remains worthy of remembrance. Barry White, when the muse becomes the fracture of the heart. Barry White was more than an R&B icon. He was a voice that sounded like midnight, deep, commanding, and impossibly tender. His music didn't just describe love, it lived inside it. And at the center of that world stood Glodian James, the soulful singer of Love Unlimited, the woman Barry called his muse, his anchor, and the heartbeat behind his greatest creations. They married in 1974, at the height of his rising stardom. Throughout the 1970s, the public often saw Glodian by Barry's side, graceful, loyal, and unwavering. She wasn't just his wife. She was his creative partner, his emotional compass, the quiet strength behind the sound. But as Barry White ascended into legend, success began to demand more than music could give back. Endless studio sessions, relentless touring, nights that stretched into weeks away from home. Barry poured himself into his art, unknowingly leaving spaces behind, spaces someone else would eventually fill. Glodian's career continued alongside his, and at her side every day was Daniel, a trusted personal assistant. He handled everything: schedules, rehearsals, backstage moments, late-night drives after shows. Over time, proximity became comfort. Comfort became closeness. In 1988, the announcement came without warning. Barry White and Glodian James were separating. What followed was a quiet collapse. Barry slipped into addiction. His health deteriorated, and after his death, a private memoir found in his room finally revealed the wound that never healed. One line stood alone on the page, short, devastating, and heavy with truth. "Today, I discovered my wife was cheating." The truth had surfaced accidentally. Another assistant, while reviewing work schedules, accessed a shared email account linked to Daniel. Buried among contracts and tour plans were messages that no longer sounded professional, words filled with longing, secrecy, and emotional intimacy. "Every time I see you smile after rehearsals, my exhaustion disappears. I wish those moments could last longer, somewhere no one knows us." The emails were addressed to an account named D, Glodian's private nickname, used only by those closest to her. In his unpublished memoir, Confessions of a Heart, Barry wrote words that stripped away the legend and revealed the man beneath the voice. "When I read those words, my chest tightened as if the air had vanished. You were my light, my breath, my faith. And yet you shared your tenderness, your conversations, your intimacy with someone else. Still, know this, my love for you never died. It burns quietly inside me. I am grateful for the time we walked together. And until my final breath, that love will remain a permanent part of who I am." It wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was acceptance, too late, too quiet, and unbearably human. Barry White's legacy lives on through timeless love songs that continue to move the world. And woven into every note, every whispered lyric, is the shadow of Glodian James, D, forever inseparable from the heart that once sang love better than anyone else ever could. Teddy Pendergrass. When a golden love quietly fractured behind closed doors. Teddy Pendergrass and Joan Williams were once hailed as one of show business's most flawless power couples. He was the R&B titan, his voice deep, masculine, and drenched in emotion, capable of melting hearts with a single note. She was the sharp, poised executive at New Balance, intelligent, stylish, and always by his side, the perfect balance to his magnetic presence. Together, they embodied success, passion, and devotion. To the public, their love looked unbreakable. But perfection often hides its deepest cracks in silence. As the late 1970s rolled into the early 1980s, Teddy's life became a whirlwind of tours, studios, and endless nights on stage. Joan, meanwhile, was climbing her own ladder, immersed in high-profile campaigns and global marketing demands. Their calendars stopped aligning. Dinners turned into missed calls. Shared moments faded into emails, meetings, and red-eye flights. Slowly, the distance grew, not loudly, but relentlessly. By the mid-1980s, the press began to notice subtle shifts. Teddy appeared alone at events where Joan had once stood proudly beside him. Photo shoots and fashion campaigns increasingly featured Joan alongside Henry, a fashion photographer whose presence became strangely constant. Their body language, lingering glances, intimate proximity, unspoken ease, sparked quiet whispers that something more than work was unfolding behind the lens. At the same time, Teddy's interviews took on a haunting tone. In print and on television, he spoke in fragments of loneliness, admitting that even at the height of fame, he often felt emotionally adrift. "After long nights," he once said softly, "I wish I could come home to a warm light waiting for me, but sometimes that feels like a luxury." The words lingered, heavy with unspoken pain. When Teddy Pendergrass passed away on January 13, 2010, a question resurfaced with renewed intensity: Had there been a secret buried beneath the celebrated marriage? Fans revisited old clues. Joan's frequent appearances with Henry. The affectionate gestures captured backstage and during business trips. The unusually long, private working sessions. And then, a moment that stunned everyone. A brief Twitter post from Teddy himself, appearing late one night, only to vanish 12 hours later. Your eyes, your smile, are they still for me, or is it all just a familiar act? The silence that followed spoke louder than any denial. Tabloids pieced together timelines. Fans dissected photos. Yet when Teddy was once asked directly about rumors of infidelity, he offered no answer, only a pause, a quiet deflection, and a gaze that said more than words ever could. And perhaps that is why the story of Teddy Pendergrass and Joan Williams continues to haunt the public imagination. Not because of what was proven, but because of what was never said. Their love remains frozen in unanswered questions, a golden romance forever suspended between truth and mystery, one the world still hasn't fully unraveled. James Brown, the godfather of soul. A man who built an empire of rhythm, sweat, and survival, only to watch his dignity unravel over a secret that cut deeper than any scandal. By the final chapter of his life, James Brown was rarely seen without Tommy Ray Heine. She wasn't just a backing vocalist. She was his constant presence, on stage, off stage, in his home, and in his heart. Together, they appeared untouchable. James, fiery and commanding. Tommy Ray, poised and magnetic. To the public, they embodied a powerful love story, passionate, glamorous, and seemingly unbreakable. But behind the curtain, something was wrong. In 2002, they held what the world believed was a wedding. Yet not long after, a truth emerged that shattered everything. Tommy Ray had never finalized her divorce from her previous husband, Javed Ahmed. Legally, she was still married. The South Carolina Supreme Court would later rule that her marriage to James Brown was never valid at all. For most men, this might have been paperwork. For James Brown, it was betrayal. This was a man who had clawed his way out of poverty, violence, and prison, who spent decades trying to reclaim respect through music and discipline. Learning that the woman he trusted most had hidden such a life-altering truth wasn't just humiliating. It broke something inside him. James would later confess, "I can't believe the person I trusted the most would hide something this serious from me." This wasn't just legal. It shattered my belief in love. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Trust evaporated. Rage took its place. Tommy Ray was reportedly removed from an overseas tour as her past with Ahmed came to light. And within just 12 hours, James Brown filed for an annulment, demanding a public announcement in Variety magazine to declare their separation to the world. The scandal exploded. Entertainment tabloids rushed to dig up old photos, images of Tommy Ray slipping into dark luxury sedans, vanishing from view as quickly as she appeared. Rumors swirled. Whispers of an unresolved emotional bond with her ex-husband refused to die. No proof ever surfaced, but suspicion lingered like smoke after a fire. What truly happened behind closed doors may never be fully known. Only the people involved carry that truth. But for James Brown, the damage was undeniable. The godfather of soul survived fame, addiction, and the streets. Yet in the end, it was betrayal that struck the deepest blow. Rick James, the firebrand of funk, the rebel poet of rhythm, and the man whose wildest battles were never fought on stage. To the world, Rick James was unforgettable, flaming dreadlocks, raw sensuality, and a fearless sound that shattered every rule of funk and R&B. His performances burned with freedom and excess. But behind the spotlight lived another Rick, a man quietly searching for a place where his heart could finally rest. In his memoir A Little Me, discovered after his death in 2004, Rick revealed a chapter of his life the public was never meant to see. He devoted an entire section to a woman he called Minnie, sometimes Mimi, believed to be his first true love. Not just a lover, but his spiritual anchor. The woman who stood beside him backstage in tiny clubs, before fame found him. The woman who inspired the tender love song, You and I. This chapter of his life was wrapped in silence and secrecy. Rick wrote of nights when she supported him quietly, believing in him before the world ever did. But within those same pages, he confessed a truth that stunned readers, a wound that never fully healed. At the height of his fame, as the parties grew longer and addiction began tightening its grip, Rick discovered something he was never meant to find. One May afternoon, while searching for accessories before a performance, he opened a small box belonging to Mimi. Inside were letters, slightly worn, tied together with ribbon. Letters from her former lover, a man named John. The words inside were intimate, painfully alive. Proof that some connections never truly die. Rick quoted her words with heartbreaking vulnerability. "I'm afraid of the terrifying loneliness of the dark. I've forgotten the sound of my own laughter. When did I become a quiet, soulless shadow in his life? Even though I try to restrain my heart, I still can't forget you, John." Rick's response in the memoir was devastating in its honesty. "My love, I will never forget that afternoon. Opening that little box and realizing your heart once belonged elsewhere, and maybe still did. I saw how cruel I had been, how I failed to give you the peaceful home you deserved. Yet my love for you never changed." When she eventually left, she took a piece of him that could never be replaced. "You left me with a void nothing could fill," Rick wrote. "I was in pain, but I held no bitterness. I chose to keep everything beautiful about you, in my memory, in my music, and in my heart." Despite the heartbreak, the chaos, and the darkness, Rick James rose to become a legend, one of the most influential voices in funk and R&B history. But Mimi, the quiet woman woven into his earliest dreams, remained with him in spirit until the very end. Their story, filled with love, regret, loyalty, and silent suffering, stands as one of the most beautiful and complicated love stories behind the music. A reminder that even the wildest icons carry fragile hearts, and some loves never truly fade. Lionel Richie, The Shattered Ballad of Love. Lionel Richie was the voice of romance itself. The velvet tone behind timeless ballads like Hello and Endless Love. A man whose music taught the world how to feel, how to ache, how to hope. In the late 1990s, his real life seemed to mirror the fairy tales he sang about. By his side was Diane Alexander, his second wife, elegant, radiant, and poised like a classic lounge singer. Together, they were Hollywood's definition of perfection. A golden couple. Love, beauty, and success wrapped in harmony. Lionel once called her his perfect other half. But even the sweetest melodies can crack. By 2002, subtle fractures began to surface beneath the calm exterior of their marriage. Whispers turned into headlines when leaked paparazzi photos showed Diane growing unusually close to George Wilson, a colleague from Lionel's summer tour. Lingering touches. Familiar smiles. Moments that raised eyebrows and ignited suspicion. Then came a grainy practice video, anonymously posted by a gossip account online, capturing Diane and George in what many believed was unmistakable intimacy. The rumors spread fast and burned hotter with each new leak. More images followed. Diane leaving George's home late at night while Lionel was miles away, consumed by rehearsals and preparing for a grueling US tour. From 2002 through 2003, the speculation grew louder. Yet Lionel Richie said nothing. No denials. No defenses. Just silence. When he finally spoke in 2003, it wasn't to accuse or explain the rumors. Instead, he turned inward. He admitted that relentless touring, endless studio hours, and the demands of fame had pulled him away from the woman he loved. That absence, he acknowledged, had strained their marriage in ways he could no longer ignore. By late 2003, Diane filed for divorce. The love story officially ended in early 2004. The unanswered questions, the leaked moments, and Lionel's quiet restraint were enough for the public to piece together a tragedy of their own. A romance once celebrated now remembered as fractured and unresolved. In the end, this broken chapter stands as a sobering reminder: even love that looks perfect under the spotlight can unravel in the shadows. And sometimes, the man who sings the most beautiful love songs is the one silently living their most painful goodbye. Smokey Robinson, the lonely heart behind the spotlight. To generations of music lovers, Smokey Robinson wasn't just the soul of Motown. He was the embodiment of romance itself, the soft-spoken gentleman who turned longing into melody and heartbreak into poetry. Standing faithfully beside him for decades was Claudette Rogers Robinson, his wife, his collaborator, and half of what the world celebrated as one of Motown's golden couples. Their marriage was held up as proof that love could survive fame. So when their divorce became official in 1986, after 27 years together, it felt like watching a perfect portrait suddenly crack down the middle. The fracture, however, had been forming long before. Between 1964 and 1972, Smokey's brightest era, his life became a blur of non-stop tours, packed stages, and endless applause. Fame followed him everywhere, and so did whispers. Backstage rumors began to circulate about overly close moments with young female artists, fleeting encounters hidden behind velvet curtains and stage lights. While Smokey's star burned brighter, Claudette slowly faded from the public eye. When she did appear alone, the press noticed everything. The weight loss, the forced smiles, the sadness that makeup couldn't fully hide. Her eyes, they said, told a story her lips never would. Around that same time, another presence began to surface: Jordan, a young musician working with the crew. At first, it looked harmless, professional, innocent. But paparazzi photos started painting a different picture. Claudette and Jordan leaving the house late in the evening. Long conversations beside a parked car. Lingering glances that seemed to last just a little too long. One image caught her gently leaning against his shoulder as they slipped into a back alley toward the parking lot. Quiet moments. Private moments. Moments that raised questions no one dared answer. Were they just colleagues? Or was something deeper unfolding in the silence? As the speculation grew louder, everyone involved chose to say nothing. And maybe that silence is the most painful part of all. Because in the end, this story isn't really about betrayal. It's about two people who once loved each other deeply, slowly pulled apart by the glare of fame. One searching for escape and temptation behind the stage lights. The other reaching for comfort from a different shoulder, simply because loneliness had finally become unbearable. Sometimes, the saddest love stories don't end with scandal. They end quietly, when two hearts lose each other while the world is still applauding. Marvin Gaye, the secret behind The Perfect Marriage. Marvin Gaye was the soul of Motown, a man who turned longing, desire, and heartbreak into timeless R&B classics. His voice sounded like love itself. And for years, his life appeared just as perfect. At his side was Anna Gordy, sharp, elegant, and powerful, a woman who wasn't just his wife, but a Motown co-founder. When they married in 1963, the industry called it a dream union. Music royalty. Black excellence. A love story sealed in vinyl and velvet. But behind closed doors, a quiet fracture was already forming. The truth didn't fully surface until after Marvin's death, hidden inside forgotten pages of memoirs and private diaries. In those handwritten notes, Marvin revealed a marriage far more fragile than the public ever knew. He understood that Anna carried old wounds, deep scars, and shadows that didn't always leave room for him. Her heart, he sensed, was never entirely his. As Marvin's career soared, endless tours, late-night sessions, global fame, Anna slowly began to disappear from his side. She offered explanations, family obligations, Motown business, other projects. But the distance grew heavier with every excuse. In his diary, Marvin wrote of moments that quietly shattered him, seeing Anna laugh a little too long, talk a little too closely with Marcus, a musician Marvin trusted like a younger brother. Small details, but devastating ones. Her sudden silences. The way she avoided his eyes when he entered the room. Music drifting from her study late at night when Marvin came home alone. He never confronted her. He absorbed the pain in silence. Those unspoken wounds lived on inside him, and eventually found their way into his music. When Marvin Gaye died, those diary pages became proof of a love that was passionate, complicated, and deeply broken. They revealed a man who was adored by millions, yet profoundly lonely in his own home. And maybe that's why his songs still cut so deep. Because Marvin Gaye didn't just sing about love. He sang from the place where love quietly falls apart. Stevie Wonder. Even the purest love songs carry hidden low notes. Stevie Wonder, the soul R&B genius behind timeless classics like I Just Called to Say I Love You and Isn't She Lovely, spent many years believing he had found a love as steady as his music. By his side was Kai Millard, the woman who became both his inspiration and his quiet strength. They first crossed paths in Los Angeles in 1973, where Kai worked as Stevie's costume designer. He was drawn to her softness, her grace, and the rare compassion she showed toward a man who experienced the world without sight. To Stevie, Kai wasn't just a partner, she was his guiding presence. To the public, they were a golden couple, a musical genius and the woman who saw the world for him when he could not. But even the sweetest melodies can hide a discord. Years later, whispers began to surface in the most unexpected way. An anonymous post appeared on a private entertainment industry forum. No name, no history, just a few carefully chosen initials. The post hinted at an extramarital affair involving a legendary male artist, his wife identified only as K, and a music producer known as L. According to the account, during late-night recording sessions, K and L were often seen staying in the studio long after everyone else had gone home. At first, it seemed harmless, just dedication to the work. But over time, the details grew harder to ignore. Lingering touches, hands brushing too long, a quiet moment where Kay rested her head on L's shoulder. Small gestures, perhaps, but enough to make outsiders question whether this was more than professional closeness. The post spread quickly. Then, just as suddenly, the anonymous account disappeared. Still, fans and insiders began connecting the dots. Recording schedules, a producer named Liam, and the realization that Kay might indeed be Kai Millard. At the center of the storm, Stevie Wonder said nothing. Those who worked with him noticed a change. He grew quieter in the studio. Conversations faded into long, heavy silences that seemed to carry unspoken pain. Kai, for her part, neither confirmed nor denied the rumors. She continued to appear in public composed and professional, her expression carefully guarded. No one could prove betrayal, yet no one could fully dismiss the rumors either. In 2012, after 11 years of marriage, Stevie Wonder and Kai Millard officially went their separate ways. A man who felt the world through his heart. A woman who was once his eyes, his anchor, his muse. Whether the rumors were true or not may never be fully known. But one truth remains unmistakable. Behind the brilliance of fame and the beauty of love songs, even legends carry fragile hearts, hearts that can be quietly broken by loneliness, doubt, and the tragedy of love lost. Michael Jackson. Behind the flawless smile and the fairy tale headlines, there was a silence few ever heard. Michael Jackson wasn't just the king of pop. He was the heartbeat of the late 20th century, a cultural force whose name defined the 1980s and 1990s. Billie Jean, Thriller, Bad, songs that didn't just top charts, but reshaped music itself. To the world, Michael was untouchable, larger than life, almost unreal. Then came Lisa Marie Presley, a woman born into a legacy just as heavy. As Elvis Presley's only daughter and the heir to Graceland, Lisa grew up surrounded by fame, expectation, and endless scrutiny. From a young age, she carried a question that never left her. Was she loved for who she truly was, or only for the shadow of the Presley name? Michael and Lisa first crossed paths in the late 1970s. But it wasn't until the early 1990s that their connection deepened, at a moment when both were suffocating under the weight of their own legends. Behind closed doors, Lisa discovered a Michael far removed from the commanding figure on stage. He was quiet, soft-spoken, emotionally fragile, yet deeply attentive. And Michael in Lisa saw more than Elvis's daughter. He saw a woman who was direct, intelligent, and quietly rebellious, nothing like the untouchable Graceland princess the public imagined. They didn't fall in love through glamour. They bonded through loneliness. Lisa listened as Michael spoke about lawsuits, media attacks, and the pressure of living under a microscope. Michael, in turn, made Lisa feel seen, not as a symbol, but as a person. In 1994, They stunned the world by announcing their marriage. To the public, it looked like a dream, the king of pop marrying the daughter of the king of rock and roll. But fairy tales crack under real life. By 1995, the strain was impossible to hide. Michael's fame only grew heavier, his body and mind showing signs of exhaustion. Rumors of medication dependency swirled. Legal battles grew louder. And Lisa later admitted she felt painfully alone, watching the man she loved unravel while she relied on tranquilizers just to sleep through the night. It was in that emotional vacuum that whispers began. Years after the divorce, an anonymous blog post surfaced, allegedly written by a former assistant of Lisa Marie Presley. The post claimed that during the period Lisa was working on her solo music, she had grown close to Eric Ivan Rossi, a musician and producer described as calm, emotionally present, and above all, a listener. For a woman trapped in a fractured marriage, those long hours of conversation carried weight. According to the account, their discussions went far beyond music, touching on Lisa's exhaustion, her isolation, and the quiet pain of loving Michael Jackson. The most haunting detail? The assistant claimed Lisa kept a locked drawer containing a hidden photograph, herself and Eric, smiling, close, undeniably happy. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the post vanished. No confirmations. No denials. No explanations. Michael Jackson never addressed the rumor publicly. In 1996, after just 20 months of marriage, Michael and Lisa announced their divorce. The suspicion of betrayal lingered like a thin crack in flawless glass, never proven, never fully dismissed. Visible enough to unsettle, but never enough to reveal the whole truth. Looking back, the real tragedy isn't whether betrayal occurred. It's that two deeply wounded people, trapped by fame, expectations, and unresolved trauma, found comfort in each other, but couldn't survive the weight of the world watching. Michael retreated deeper into his music. Lisa continued searching for her own voice. And the silence behind that perfect marriage remains one of pop culture's most haunting unanswered questions. Al Green. The quiet secrets behind the handwritten notes. Al Green stands as one of the defining voices of the 1970s, a man whose name became inseparable from music, faith, and the promise of redemption. At the center of that chapter in his life was Shirley Kiles, a gifted backing vocalist who would later become his first wife. They married in 1977 and welcomed 3 daughters, Alva, Ruby, and Cora. To the outside world, the image was almost sacred, a legendary soul singer turned pastor, standing beside his wife behind the choir, building a family grounded in faith. But the picture cracked faster than anyone expected. By 1978, just 1 year later, Shirley filed for divorce, citing spousal abuse and irreconcilable differences. Decades later, when asked to reflect on that marriage, Al Green chose his words carefully. "I wasn't a perfect husband," he admitted. "I hurt her. But I wasn't the only reason the marriage fell apart." That single statement opened the door to deeper questions, questions the public had never been invited to ask. As stories of domestic conflict slowly surfaced, whispers began circulating among those who served alongside the couple in church. And in those whispers, one name kept appearing, a name never printed in headlines. Sam Cooke. Late-night phone calls. Quiet betrayals. And a secret that refused to stay buried. Sam Cooke was the original king of soul, a man whose velvet voice defined romance, love, and black pride. To the world, he sang hope and devotion. But behind that warmth lived a private life filled with tension, loneliness, and unanswered questions. Questions that only grew louder after his mysterious death in 1964. By his side since their teenage years was Barbara Campbell, his wife, the mother of his child, and the woman the public saw as the picture of loyalty. She stood behind the legend, smiling as he conquered the world. Yet in private writings believed to be fragments of Sam's unfinished memoir, a different truth emerged. Sam wrote of feeling isolated, unheard, even lonely inside his own home. Then came the shock that no one expected. After Sam's death, Barbara married Bobby Womack, Sam's close friend, protege, and musical confidant. Bobby was younger. He was trusted. And to many fans and members of the Cooke family, that marriage felt like a betrayal too deep to ignore. It raised an unsettling question. Did their relationship truly begin after Sam was gone, or had it already started while he was still alive? The suspicion deepened when an intermediary, believed to be handling old legal matters, came across forgotten phone records. Buried within those documents was a number that appeared again and again in the months leading up to Sam's death. When the number was traced, the answer was chilling. It belonged to Bobby Womack. Even more troubling, the landline at Barbara's home showed a sharp increase in calls to that number, many placed after 11 p.m., lasting 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes longer. The timing was impossible to ignore. These calls happened while Sam was away on tour, performing in distant cities, or locked away in late-night recording sessions, chasing perfection while something quietly unraveled back home. Piece by piece, a haunting picture began to form. Sam Cooke, long rumored to have lived a complicated romantic life, was suddenly seen by some not as the villain, but as a victim of fractures within his own marriage. Fans revisited his private words, especially one line that cut deep. "I feel like I'm no longer listened to in my own house." There was never a confession. No public admission from Barbara. No acknowledgement from Bobby. Only fragments, unfinished notes, phone records, whispers that refused to fade. But in the hearts of many, a silent theory took root. Perhaps in the final months of his life, Sam Cooke wasn't just battling industry pressure and personal demons. Perhaps he was also enduring a profound, crushing loneliness, watching the foundation of his home slowly collapse. And the tragedy may have been far closer than anyone ever imagined. Prince was unmistakable. From the very first notes of Purple Rain, the room knew who he was, an untouchable musical genius, a man who lived boldly, loved deeply, and refused to be anything but himself. On stage, he was electric. Off stage, his world seemed calm, almost carefully composed. By his side during those years was Manuela Testolini, a woman known for her elegance, her quiet strength, and her devotion to charity. To fans, she appeared to be the perfect counterbalance to Prince's intensity, gentle, refined, supportive, always standing just outside the spotlight. Their marriage looked peaceful, grounded, unshaken. That's why the whispers from backstage felt so unsettling. During the tour, murmurs began to circulate among the crew. Manuela, in her supportive role, was often seen alongside Alejandro, a cinematographer traveling with the production. At first, it meant nothing. But then came the lingering looks, the shared smiles, the subtle touches caught in behind-the-scenes footage, moments small enough to be dismissed, yet intimate enough to raise quiet questions. There was never a dramatic reveal. No undeniable proof. No public scandal. Instead, the tension lived in the contrast. The flawless image presented to the world versus the fragile, unspoken moments unfolding behind the curtain. Prince remained the untouchable icon on stage, pouring his soul into music. Manuela continued her work in charity, serene and composed, saying nothing. And perhaps that's the most haunting part of the story. Not the rumors, not the glances, but the realization that even inside relationships the world believes it understands, there are separate lives being lived, private choices, silent loneliness, and hidden truths the audience will never fully see. B.B. King, the silence between the notes, and the tenderness he searched for elsewhere. The king of the blues carried the weight of the world in his fingers. With Lucille pressed against his chest, B.B. King turned heartbreak into melody, transforming everyday pain and longing into music that spoke for millions. On stage, his voice told stories of love lost, love fading, and love that never quite returned the same. At home, far from the spotlight, stood Martha Lee Denton, his quiet wife. A nurse at a small clinic, she lived a life of routine and restraint, rarely seen in public, rarely mentioned in interviews. To the outside world, she was devotion personified, steady, loyal, invisible by choice. She supported B.B. from the shadows while he carried the blues across the globe. But sometimes, the loudest fractures appear in silence. Small, unsettling details began to surface. Never accusations, only questions. A photograph never meant to be seen. Torn fragments of letters tucked into a work journal. And most haunting of all, private lines from B.B. King's own writings, filled with unspoken sorrow. Colleagues at the clinic whispered of fleeting moments, lingering glances, gentle smiles, shared between Martha and a frequent visitor. Nothing concrete, nothing proven, just enough to plant doubt where trust once lived untouched. B.B. never confronted the world with scandal. Instead, he turned inward. In his memoir, he wrote with quiet devastation, "It feels like a distance I can't cross has grown between us. Sometimes I wonder if I'm still the one she trusts, or just a shadow standing beside her." Those words didn't accuse, they ached. The photo, the letters, the private grief they hinted at revealed something deeply human, the loneliness of a man adored by millions, yet uncertain of the one heart he needed most. Whether Martha ever broke her vows remains unknown. She chose a life away from rumors, never stepping into the noise to explain or deny. And perhaps that mystery is what lingers most. What endures is not the question of betrayal, but how B.B. King carried that pain. Quietly, gracefully, the same way he carried the blues. Some music critics believe his timeless anthem, "The Thrill Is Gone," was born not from imagination, but from this emotional distance, a love still present, yet painfully out of reach. And in that song, as in his life, B.B. King did what he always did best. He let the guitar say what the heart could not. Kelly. Smiles caught in passing, lingering glances, and whispers that refused to fade. R. Kelly is a name etched deep into R&B history, a hitmaker whose songs carried longing, devotion, and desire to millions around the world. But behind the melodies and sold-out arenas, questions quietly followed him, especially during the early rise of a young star named Aaliyah. To the public, R. Kelly wasn't just her producer, he was her mentor, her guide, and to many, the man who seemed inseparably linked to her destiny. That image began to crack one October afternoon in 1995. Paparazzi cameras flashed as Aaliyah was spotted leaving New York's Regency Hotel, not with R. Kelly, but alongside Jason, a young musician and trusted collaborator from her production circle. The photos told a story without words, the two stepping out of the elevator together, sharing soft smiles, locked in easy eye contact, dressed in matching tones like a couple moving in quiet harmony. There were no embraces, no undeniable proof, just familiarity. And sometimes, that's enough to spark suspicion. Inside the studio, the rumors only grew louder. Crew members later recalled how Aaliyah and Jason often stayed behind after sessions ended, their conversations stretching long into the night, long after others had gone home. Nothing concrete was ever confirmed, but the atmosphere shifted. Through it all, Kelly said nothing. Instead of public explanations, he turned inward. He poured everything, joy, jealousy, heartbreak, devotion, into his music. Songs became confessionals. Melodies carried emotions he never spoke aloud. And while questions about loyalty and trust lingered, what endured was something deeper, the way two artists weathered private storms without destroying each other publicly. Years later, R. Kelly would quietly admit, "Even if things fall apart, my love for her remains real. I will always respect and cherish her, no matter what." In the end, it wasn't scandal that defined this chapter, but the music it inspired. Timeless love songs, aching harmonies, proof that even fractured relationships can leave behind something hauntingly beautiful. And the women who moved through these stories, however controversial, were never just side characters. They shaped the art, the pain, and the legacy. Their presence left permanent fingerprints on the music and on the hearts of fans who felt every note. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications as we continue uncovering the mysteries, hidden truths, and untold stories of Black R&B legends, where music and private lives collide, creating stories that are tragic, powerful, and unforgettable.